We do not own the rights to anything or any music that's heard during the duration of this podcast. Also, a lot of these shows will have explicit content. So if you are not a fan of any cursing or profanity, you may want to walk away, but that does not mean that every show will consist of such.
Are you serious? Like, we at season 7, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 seasons. Yeah, season 7. Magic number. If you know, you know. I'm not gonna go in depth with that, but yeah, this will be a very positive season. I don't know why and what's making me say that, but everything's changed. Everything is a lot different. I know the title you'll still see the podcast about sports and stuff, but yeah, I ain't gonna get no sports. I'm still, like I said, stuff is very fluctuating now. I found that the connection with things is to get people to talk, as well as me taking time to talk. So you'll notice it, especially when you hear the first few episodes of this season. But it's just about sitting down and just having good talk, good conversation. Pass the message. Y'all know they ain't going nowhere. If you know, you know. If you've been around for a while, you already know how we give it up. But just hang in there. The content's amazing. The moves are even more amazing. And just put yourself in the right headspace to get this information. So hope y'all enjoy. What is up? What is good? How is everyone doing? Episode 370 of thePASS is here. BT with yet another episode, and I am here to tell you changes have arrived. Yes, changes have arrived. And when I say that, I mean it wholeheartedly. Like, a lot of things around me have changed, and I didn't realize the magnitude of those changes until Thursday. And I'll kind of backtrack a little bit and then lead you into why I'm bringing that up. So, as many of you may or may not be aware, normally when I record and do the podcast, I typically record it on Mondays. I usually try to do them like on a Sunday or a Monday. Well, as many of you have or have not been, may or may not be aware, if you've kind of been under a rock or behind on times, I did have a schedule change, which in the process of changing my schedule, that changed my routine, which then changed a few things that I would do on different days. Case in point, Mondays are pretty stacked now. So like in the morning, I'm working. And my evening, of course, as many of you are aware, I'm going through my workout and health journey, as well as, and I've already told my friend who's been working with me on that, he's coming on the show, whether he wants to or not. So looking forward to that. But yeah, we're taking it back to the Saturday records again. Saturday, typically, if I was readjusting my schedule, Saturdays would normally be my do nothing day, but Saturdays I'm using those to create and produce. And I'll talk about a couple of some of the production or things that I'm working on in a bit. But I wanted to at least give you the update on why, because until I looked at the calendar for it, I didn't realize, I was like, I hadn't recorded or really uploaded or done a show in over a week. So I don't want anybody to think that I'm behind or something's going on. So I wanted to get all of that off the table. Number 2, and I didn't clear it up or didn't correct it on the show because I think it just kind of happened and I let it kind of fix itself. But yesterday, the last episode was supposed to be episode 369, but I edited and uploaded it as 368, which, it happens. But was able to get that up and going, so I was pretty excited about that. So I want to get all those things on the table, and I remember why I don't record here, but hey, it is what it is. I'll do my best to do my cleanup rendition. So yeah, episode 370. A lot to discuss. I'm gonna leave, since I have the title as such, I'm going to save that for last. And we'll kind of go through everything that's been going on. So first and foremost, we've had now, give or take, about close to 2 weeks. Yeah, close to 2 weeks since I've used my Mac. I personally can say that I'm getting a much more higher / elevated use out of it. And I personally, like, even now, I'm not realizing how much it's getting that extra oomph of push or discomfort, but for whatever reason it pushes through. I did share this already. The one big advantage that I like with having this computer over anything else is the updates. Now getting most of the OS updates, I'm pretty well caught up. Let me just double check. Right now this computer is running, it's running. So it's running Ventura, which is the most recent iOS update, and it runs just fine. No like hiccups or any delays or anything of that nature. I do like the fact, as far as which is something you really don't think of, but you learn how valuable it is with having it. Like any of my iMessage users, if I message them and I like mistype something, I don't need to type a new line. I can edit what I wrote and then send it out again. I haven't really had to use the undo send too much, because if I'm sending something, I'm usually pretty good with committing to the send. But the good part is if you do select undo send, if the other person has the newer version of the phone, they will not be able to see the message that you sent. But I have gotten more use out of it, and it's beginning to get its proper wear and tear in a good way. So I'm excited about that, and that's definitely leading me down a better path with some things that I'm working on, which I'll get into one of those in just a second, because that was before recording this show. I was able to really get into some important stuff, which I was putting off, but now I was able to get it knocked out, which in my opinion is probably one of the best feelings ever. So yeah, that's that on that. That's kind of that rundown. Next up, I'll do a bit of a coding and a tech unpack. So this will be kind of a mixed bag, because as many of you, as I mentioned earlier, we've officially completed week 1 in software engineering in a new role. Lots of information. I'm not going to give technicality extreme details on the show, only because I still want to keep what we do in-house as such, and also, maintain reputation of my company. So I'm not gonna overdo it, but I'll say this, and this is something that, and I can give this part of the piece at least. The stack that we work with is C#, JSON, XML, and there's an application called Ghostdraft. I didn't know until being shared that we're one of the higher users who uses Ghostdraft, which was an eye opener for me personally, and I thought that was pretty cool. So I did like learning, or I did value learning that information as well. The website is about to go through a transition. I'm not sure how I'm going to. I have my ideas on how I'm going to deploy this, but I also have a good shot that I'm going to just kind of make the decision and do what I need to do and let everything speak for itself. And what I mean by that is the site that is up now that everyone can see is very limited to design as well as customization. I honestly don't think I can even add any new images to that page anymore, because the hosting process has changed for where it's located. So losing that feature or that privilege alone is probably the most frustrating part of everything. So I'm not too pressed to remain attached to it if I don't have to. That being said, I've now found a new host. I've gotten my domain. The domain or the website will be relyonbotllc.com. So it won't be the whole relyonbotllc.business.site. That was kind of, it worked for what it needed to work for. And also because it was affiliated with Google, it was, you had that perk to it as well. But with them making changes on their platform and also me needing to get a better control on my designing, I went ahead and got that taken care of. So I went ahead and got the hosting and the domain taken care of. I will be using WordPress and I will be using Elementor. Now, the advantage with this is, at least with the WordPress hosting and possibly with Elementor, I'm going to see how this works. It will give me a wider scope on designing and working on or maintaining sites for individuals, because it will make the design very tactile look and feel. Tying into that and kind of attaching to it, I will complete in saying that one of the applications that I'm really looking forward to using more definitely is going to be Figma. Any of you who have heard of or know the term wireframing, Figma is your best friend, at least on the Mac side. Now, I'm not sure Windows probably has a version, but if anything, probably from a safe aspect, I would say Adobe XD would possibly be the closest next thing to that option. And I personally haven't heard anything bad with Adobe XD. I've talked about this also on the podcast. One of my designing regimens that I'm using now is Adobe Express. A lot of people use Canva. I respect Canva. I love what Canva does. Canva's terms and conditions just don't sit well with me. So because of that, I went ahead and chose to use Adobe Express, because whatever I design, it's me. I'm in control of it. So I like that feature alone. I wrote this down, but I'll share it anyway. Because I'm going to be using Elementor, I'll have to kind of get like a crash course on Elementor. I've worked with WordPress for designing, but not the way that I would like to in its full capacity. So I will definitely be doing some WordPress business unpacking with that as well. And I shouldn't be this like delayed of talking about this, but I have had some very eye-opening aha moments when it comes to my mental well-being, to say the least. And why I'm bringing it up that way, or starting with it in that way, is because you really don't realize how important your mental is until you sit and ask yourself, how are you mentally, or how do you feel? Or even when someone comes to you and asks, how is your mental health? Yesterday, met with a couple friends. We got into a good conversation about what I've reintroduced or looking to resurrect again, known as the feelings wheel, which can be a little challenging on the mind, but it also gives you that space to say, how am I feeling? And me having to put it into a word, what does that look like? So I really and truly value the opportunities I get to do or work on the feelings wheel. So doing that was a good vibe. It was a good space by far. Last topic, and then pass the message. And this is probably going to be one of my shorter podcasts, because things went on, but I think I've been so like engulfed in just getting my brain wrapped around coding and what I'm doing in my new role. I really have not been like in content mode to that extreme. I'm going, before I get into ChatGPT, let me do this. I'll do this. I'll do this to be, to kind of simplify and smooth out the process. The last few days, I knew the importance of content, but I definitely have a clear eye or a clear scope when it comes to how important your content is, when it comes to creating your content, when it comes to working on your content, when it comes to building, developing your content. The challenge and the adjustment is what things can you simplify for yourself internally, and what resources might you need from other people to get your content where you need it to go. Well, Brian, what do you mean by that? There are going to be times and there are going to be points that you may have videos or you may have things that you share that are going to require help from other people. And if I'm being 100% transparent, there's nothing wrong with that. What you have to look at or have to remember is not forcing or overcomplicating the process that comes with that form of a challenge, because it's going to look different for everyone. And it's also going to have like literally a different look and feel for those who are involved. So the reason I'm starting with that, or why I'm using that term or that reference, is because we hear the term content, we hear the reference of people being creatives, but the creative part requires being a little creative and sometimes being a little simple with what you're doing. Case in point, 2 years ago, you would not have told me, well, I didn't even say 2 years ago, 3 years ago, before I did what I started doing, you couldn't have told me by far that I would make the videos that I was doing with Car Chronicles a big deal. Because I didn't think much of it at the time. I was like, okay, I'm just going to watch. Like when I first got on the TikTok platform, it was like I would watch videos, I would engage as I felt the need, and kind of kept it pushing. But then as time progressed, I was like, let me really, as I've been telling more people to lean into it and give it some more chance, give it some more time, and give it some more attention. So doing that has really made me understand a lot clearer how it works with uploading what you find to love or what you find to enjoy. And not everyone gets that sometimes. And you don't realize how much others may or may not get it until you're really put in a position to have others see that. It's like, this ain't as, I won't say cookie cut, but it's not as A to Z as a lot of people may think that it is. So I say all of that just to say, if you are in a space or you are in a moment of really wanting to get your content to bump up a notch or switch to another level, then do whatever you need to do to get your content to that level. And most importantly, be okay with it, because you're going to find over time that it's not even about it being easy. It's not even about it being complicated. It's literally about everything building up to trying to do the content versus getting the content created and uploaded. And that's something that I've taken very wholeheartedly over the last few years since working on it. So that's what I have for that. This is going to be I almost want to say a pre-talk to the talk that I'm going to be doing soon, because I have I put myself in a space where I'm going to soon be sharing my thoughts and talking about the trend that a lot of people are afraid of, but don't realize that it could be more valuable to them than they think, and that is ChatGPT. So ChatGPT, I'm gonna kind of put it into two buckets. I'm gonna put it as ChatGPT and AI, which, as many of us know, is artificial intelligence. This has been a thing that's been in existence for years, and I don't think many of us realize it, because we've been told how much, we don't want to give our information, we need to protect our data and all these different things. And all of that's still valid to this day. Let me not lighten that load one bit, because that's not what this this lead in is talking about, especially with me having a title being called Tech GPT. What I'm sharing or where I'm going with this is, if you really take the time to see how useful these applications and these platforms are, you might be surprised how much you can learn and gain and grow from using them in your day-to-day lives, your day-to-day routine, without even trying. Case in point, I'll give like a perfect example of it. If someone right now were to say, "Hey, I want to build a website, and I'm not sure where to start." I had to change the setup real quick. I'm not sure where to start. You could literally go into ChatGPT and type in the exact words, "How do I build a website?" or "How do I start building a website?" And they will literally walk you through the steps on how to build a website. And at first I didn't think much of it, but I'm also someone who is more efficient and more proficient with designing. Someone who isn't a designer, someone who doesn't know or doesn't understand those things, might be a little different. So it's important to really see the value in those spaces. There's also a new one. So Google knows what they're doing even when you don't think they know what they're doing. Google decided there were two applications that Google had in their work suite that did not do very well. One was called Google Plus. The other one was called Google One. Google One is being resurrected as Bard, B-A-R-D. B-A-R-D is a chat engine or chat GPT engine that's similar to the ones that are out here running the same similar formula. Bing is even using ChatGPT or using AI. The latest one that I've gotten pulled into that I really like is Notion. So Notion is a note-taking app. I will say at one point, Evernote was my favorite note-taking app of all time. Evernote got a little too big for their britches. They decided to make changes with their landscape and how they did things. And they weren't doing what I felt was beneficial for how I needed to get information. If I'm trying, basically, they didn't allow you to save notes as you would like to in Evernote. So I ended up going with another note-taking app. I tried Google Keep for a while, which I still use Google Keep. But as soon as I found Notion's biggest advantage and most underrated feature is the templates, because people all over make so many templates just for Notion and its simplicity and fluidity. So I've personally become gravitated to that, and I can't lie, it's probably one of the best feelings ever. There are people who make bullet journals in Notion that you can use and edit and create and do everything. There's one template that I recently found that it didn't seem like a lot at first, but in the long run, it's a pretty useful version. It was called Minimalist GTD, which is, anyone who's read the book, it's called Getting Things Done. And it's probably one of my favorite versions of, probably one of the books that I'm really excited to read among other books that I have. But that book is one that I really want to read and really want to see what's to it, because we all talk about wanting to get things done, but we really don't realize we need to work harder on getting things done. So just wanted to share that and let you all know, as much as you may or may not be the biggest fan of it, not GTD, but Chat GPT, Chat AI, or Open AI, it's going to be around for a minute. along with that, I have not tried it personally, but GPT-4 is being talked about. Someone asked me the difference between GPT, I think it's now to GPT-3 and GPT-4. And if I'm going to kind of give a simple answer, the biggest difference between the two is going to be that GPT-4 is more subscription based. Like you would be doing a monthly subscription for it. And I want to go ahead and give clarity because I like to, y'all know I'm always about being informative and providing knowledge. But the GPT abbreviation stands for GUID partition table, and is a newer standard that's slowly replacing, and they're saying MBR, but I never like to give abbreviations to another abbreviation. Let's see. I think that's something different. Let me check because I want to make sure that I'm giving you all the proper. Okay. All right. I was way off. So let's try this again. This is why you sometimes have to search properly. So GPT stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. So the versions, like I said, is GPT-3 and GPT-4. 4 is the one where you have the paid subscription, and 3 is free. But if you use the free version, regardless if it's on your phone or computer, it does not guarantee you to get in and use it right away. Whereas with GPT-4, by paying for it, you have automatic access to it. So that is kind of a abbreviated, but a full, as the term that I've been using or hearing more this week, a high level discussion of GPT. If you would like to get more information on that, reach out to me at thePassBTpod@gmail.com and we can talk about it. Final thought, message to pass along, something to help you all get through the day or through life. Don't feel obligated to others when you're lacking self-obligation. You owe it to yourself, ... If there are things you need to do for you, do those things. I get that we want to be there for other people. We want to be available. We want to be our true selves. We want to make everything this honky-dory perfect environment with other people. However, it's not always going to be that way. And sometimes we have to truly remember that we need our personal nurturing, our personal effort, our personal affection, our personal care. And if you forget or ignore those things, it adds up whether you realize it or not. So please don't lighten your obligation to yourself because you're more concerned about trying to make sure everybody else around you is good. It's no benefit making sure everybody else is good and you're not good, because it's going to be shown, it's going to be noticed. Whether you think it is or not, it's going to be noticed. Like, believe me when I say it's noticeable even when you don't think it's noticeable. And I'm just going to leave it at that. I hope you all have an amazing day. I hope you all have an amazing week. Show the people that you love them. Don't kind of show love, because the people who you think need love the most are right in your back pocket or right in your circle. I wish you all an amazing day. And until next time, this is thePASS signing out. Another episode is completed. Thank you all for listening. If you want to check out the podcast, you can go to buzzsprout.com. If you're looking to do podcasts, you can go to buzzsprout.com. To get to my podcast, you'll go to thePassBTpod.buzzsprout.com. If you're looking at getting a microphone, I always suggest getting the Blue Yeti X. That is the microphone that I use. If you're starting off and you need something more affordable, Samsung Meteor, it's a worthwhile investment. And there are other microphones that are going to be simple enough. My big suggestion I tell everyone whenever looking for a microphone, be sure that your microphone has the ability to have you listen to your audio or listen to yourself as you're talking. It will make a big difference in your editing in your podcast. Also, most importantly, and I tell people this is a tip offline, but I'm giving this in the final listen or the end of the show. Drink water while recording, and also just drink water in general. But drink water while you're recording, and the reason why, you'll be surprised. All right. See y'all on the next show.